Ireland is a great place where you can start your startup or a company. It's the only native English speaking country in the EU now after Brexit. And there is an ecosystem of software development companies, venture capitalists, and yes, startups. So, what about AI startups in Ireland? Michelle, you've been looking at this for a while. Can you tell us a little bit more about the big name or the small names that are promising? So, what are the top AI companies in this island?
In this island, indeed. So there's a lot of startups, and a lot of them are trying to deploy AI in some way or another. I looked into three of them that have been founded not very recently. So I kind of wanted to focus on the startups that have managed to survive a couple years from their founding, but they're still kind of considered a startup-ish, right? They still haven't scaled so high. So the first one is it's a VR. So it's VR AI. So as I said, so it's they use AI powered VR simulation training for high hazard environments. So they were founded in 2019, and they managed to raise 575,000 from Enterprise Ireland. So for those of you that are looking to Ireland and VC, you know that Enterprise Ireland is part of the government, and they give a lot of funding for startups. So they basically have a HEAT program, which is short standard for hazardous environment awareness trainer. So basically, what it is it's an authentic VR training environment with cutting edge data capture and analytics capability. So it allows organizations to train without to train their employees and like their teams in situations where it's risky or it's remote or it's rare, right? Where the training is actually it's a bit hard. So what they do is you can use the VR and you can train virtually. So it's more authentic, it's more memorable, and it's also more measurable with regards to like the improvement over time. So if you were to imagine firefighters, instead of sending them into a building that's not burning, you can send them into a burning building if you use the VR.
Yeah, and this is a typical example of a startup that is attacking VR from an interesting and promising niche, and that's the way a lot of startups are going for. So, given a niche, try to develop a bespoke product only for that VR use case. Second one is Solux R. Tell us a little bit more about this company based in Dunleary, not far away from Dublin, right? It's a nice, beautiful place by the sea, north,
Yes.
south of Dublin.
South. Yes, indeed. So they were founded in 2016. And generally, what they do is they augment and automate risk governance and strategy management. And they use natural language processing, text mining, and artificial intelligence to do this. So basically, they tackle strategic issues around expansion, planning of the city. Brexit planning was one of the things they looked into. Continuity, operations, crisis response, cyber resilience. So a lot of things that's very tedious. It's a lot of paperwork, right? So they really like look into the papers. Everything is fine, and because we're in the EU, something that they offer as an advantage is that they make sure that everything is GDPR compliant.
Excellent. And this is probably less sexy than VR as a problem, but
Mm.
certainly, this is a big problem. There's a huge potential market and addressable market. So, well done, Solux R. Finally, we have Stimu AI, and this is about healthcare and developing ways to essentially better target patients, right? So reduce a big problem in Ireland, but also in the UK, and we know that the UK is 10 times bigger than Ireland. Are backlogs, right? And you know
Yes.
something about it. So how does Stimu AI plan to solve this problem?
Yes, indeed. So, one of the main problems in healthcare, in hospitals, and even in the private hospitals is that there's a lot of waiting lists and there's a lot of backlog. And all of this paperwork, it's still usually done by humans. Unfortunately, there's not a concrete system because you know how it is in medicine. When there's an advancement, it's usually within medicine itself, not necessarily in the administration. So similar that AI, they were founded in 2021. This is the most recent, but they seem to be doing well. So they were founded in Cork, and what they do is they built this tool where they have scenario modeling to deliver the evidence-based proposition of how to structure the waiting list. So I want you to imagine if you were getting something done with your body, if you need like an operation, right? First of all, you have a sickness. The second problem there is if it's operable and there's something you can do about it, is how do we get you on that list and how do we get you on that list in time? So the idea is that you maximize the chance of seeing the patient just in time, right? Because if you're in the public sector in in healthcare, there's always a waiting list, right? Because there's not a lot of money being pushed into the system. So there's not enough people, there's not enough doctors, there's not enough rooms, there's not enough beds. And the idea is to make the entire thing much more efficient so that clinicians can plan their day based on these requirements and the resources and the actual available capacity, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well done, Stimu AI. This is yeah, this makes life of people better, and we love it. So, well, Michelle, I think we're gonna keep looking for promising AI startups in Ireland and potentially even in the UK and Europe.
Mhm.
But for the time being, thanks a lot for listening to this episode, and thank you, Michelle, for the research. And we'll see you in the next one.